Now you should see my screen, right? Okay, this is perfect. Sorry. So now we had discussed till this yesterday, I mean in the last class, about how to work with Putty, how to connect it to AWS instance from Putty using both. I mean, generally Putty uses PPK key, and we also seen how to create PEM key and PPK keys, and then convert PEM to PPK. All that. Yeah, there is still something more I need to discuss with this respective to with this one. We'll do that again in the upcoming sessions. Okay, I just kept it for a little later thing, so we'll talk about that as well. Now coming to this, what is IAM, right? So this is a very core area of core concept of AWS. I mean, this Amazon Web Services. You got it right, friends. So IAM is nothing but, simply speaking, it's an identity access management. And there are two different things involved in this. The purpose of this, you can just understand it here with simple language. It's a security service in AWS that helps you control who can access what in your AWS account. So it's very simple, right? So IAM talks about who should access what. There are many things in AWS, many services in AWS like EC2 or this one S3 or this database RDS. Okay, likewise, there are many services around, like, 80 to 100 services or more than that. And not everyone should have access to those services. You got it right, friends. So that is where IAM comes into the picture. The purpose of IAM is, what is the purpose of IAM? It is something which gives you identity and access management. And this is very interesting thing. Try to understand it in detail in the most simplistic way, or the easiest way to learn. So this is something like this. What is this IAM? IAM is like a security guard plus ID card for your AWS resources, right? So these are all resources. We know we have already just, we have viewed that landing zone. We have in the last classes as well, and the home page, and then we have seen what different services are available in AWS. Okay, so this is more like that, but let me make you much more easier and much more simpler for you. What is this IAM? So first we'll do one thing. Let me open a paint here. Okay, so or else a notepad also should be helpful for us. We do one thing for today's this thing. So I am right now, what are the two different the core activities we should perform under IAM, are the core things associated with IAM. Okay, so here, whenever we talk about IAM, we have to talk about two core activities. One is authentication. Okay, the second one is authorization. Got it right? Two things. Okay, so what is authentication, and then what is authorization? This is something we should learn in detail. Again, I'll make this very simple for you. Okay, let me take the help of a paint here. If you understand this, then you get a bit deeper understanding of IAM, right? With easy approach. Okay, let me open a notepad. So also we will take some live examples, I mean real examples, to understand authentication and authorization. Okay, so now let us just do this now. So suppose you take a simple this thing, a login form. There is this, yeah, you have a login form. Generally, inside a login form, you have username and okay, and then you have password, and then okay, and then you have login or sign in. You have something like sign in, right? So this is what. Why do we have a login form in most of the websites? Anybody can answer this question. We have a login form here. You can see this. This is the login form. Why do we have a login form in most of the websites? Any idea?
According to security.
To prevent unauthorization.
Correct. So the purpose of this is for authentication. What is this, sir? So making sure that you are authenticated user. There is a slight difference between okay, authentication and authorization. So authentication is a different activity. Authorization is different. Suppose I want to make it much more easier for you. So you are going to some movie in a theater, right? So at the entrance, they check that movie ticket, whether you have having a movie ticket or not, yes or no. And then they allow you to enter into the theater or a mall, yes or no, friends. So that is authentication. What is that? Allowing at the entrance by checking your ticket or any ID or anything is authentication. Okay. Once you enter into the mall, again there will be different theaters, right? So again there is theater 1, theater 2, theater 3, right? So now you tell me, suppose if you have so many theaters like this, suppose you are authenticated, step 1 is done, authentication is completed, which is nothing but I put it as A here. Okay. Now you enter into this step 2. Then you need authorization. What is that? Authorization. Authorization means, suppose assume that we are in a more advanced society, everything happens with the access cards. You don't have manual checks, everything. You have, suppose when you register for some movie, they provide you an access card. One for providing authentication. Second for accessing a particular theater, like Audi 1, Audi 2, Audi 3, if it is PVR or something. So suppose they provided access for this is a theater 1 or A1, this is A2, okay, this is A3. Likewise, there are many theaters. Now that access card is providing authorization only for A1. You cannot, then can you enter into A2? No. Can you enter into A3? No. This is simple understanding, right? Authentication is something which is identifying the user. Who is that user? Simple, right? With that username and password, we identify that user. Authorization means what? Authorization means which particular resource you should access. There are so many resources in a company or anywhere. What permissions should be provided to which resource? That is authorization. So even for any website you see, right? Suppose you take a best example is a learning website. They give you credentials to authenticate. So that is step 1, right? So best example is, so you take this. Let me just show you. So now this is what portal? Learning portal. This gives you a clear idea. Same thing we are going to apply in AWS. Okay, just I want you to understand what is authentication. Authentication is identifying the user. Simply speaking, let me just write it here. Is identifying the user with your username and password. With that, how do you identify user? Generally, we identify user with username and password. I'm going a little slow just to understand, make sure that this is understood in simple language. Okay. And what is that? Now, once you enter this username and password in some learning website, then they will take you to next window, another window. Okay. Right. So now here, there will be long list of courses. Best example is Udemy itself. You take example of Udemy. And there are so many courses here, right? So you have courses for AWS, you have courses for Java, you have courses for Python, you have courses for DevOps. Likewise, there are so many courses. Now I just ask you a quick question. Once you log into that particular portal, authenticated, once you get authenticated, suppose I just write this word here. What is that? So you are going to the next window. If you are traversing to the next window means you are authenticated user, right? You got authenticated and you move to the next window. Now here, there are many courses, right? Suppose I purchased AWS course, okay? And there are many others like thousands of courses or lakhs of courses inside this learning portals. Do I have access to all these courses? Simple question. And because this is something which everybody is aware of and everybody know this scenario. Yes, sir. So I paid for AWS, then I have access to what? My authorization is given to only AWS, but not to other courses. Will you agree, friends? So this is authorization. Understood? What is authorization? Authorization means allowing to access only that specific resource, not everything in that system is nothing but called authorization. Suppose you purchase two courses, one is AWS, second one is Python. Suppose you purchase three courses, these three, then you will be allowed to access only those three courses. Authorization is given to only to that courses, to whichever courses you have paid your this thing. You got it right. So this is the simple idea of what is that authentication and authorization. And in AWS, IAM is doing that. Both the activities. Simply speaking, IAM takes care of authenticating user, and second step is what? Authorizing user. I will show you all this and the most easiest way to understand this. These two steps. And IAM is all about this, friends. What is that? How do you authenticate? How do you authorize all that services under IAM or inside AWS? So that is the idea. I hope this example give you a clear understanding of what is authentication, what is authorization. Can I get an S from all of you? Maybe if you can type in the chat box, that helps me more, friends. Or if you can say yes also, it's fine. Is this clear for all of you? What is authentication? What is authorization? Okay. Now let's get into the AWS. Now we have seen general example to understand what is authentication and authorization, right? Now let's get into the AWS stuff part now. Now come here. IAM is this, and now when you see this, these are the important things which we should understand in IAM. And the core part of IAM is simple, whatever we have discussed right now. So this authentication and authorization is something which is what we are going to do in this IAM. Right? For that, what is that? Suppose who will do login and enter credentials? User. For that, we have to create users. And here you can see there are different courses, and these courses you can consider this as what? Policies. And every user is attached to policies. Suppose if we have 10 users, and 10 users should access only AWS, then there will be a separate group for AWS, and they try to attach you to that AWS group. I will explain this in detail. I don't want to confuse you guys. So the terminologies you should understand here more than doing the activity, because AWS or all these are window based activities. And I don't think these are really difficult to learn or to implement. Only thing is understanding terminologies, right? That pedagogy is very important. Okay, so now getting to this, I hope all of you got a clear idea what is IAM, right? It provides, simply speaking, authentication and authorization to the services in AWS. Is that clear? This is just conclusion of this. Okay, now get into this now. What are the core terminologies we should understand? Are core things of IAM? One is users. Second one, we should understand what is groups, roles, and policies. For now, we are going to understand in this session. Definitely, you will get a clear picture about users, groups, and policies. Roles thing, maybe we'll keep it for later sessions. Okay. So now, but understand this, what is an user? User anyhow, that's a simple thing, right? Anyone like us, an employee or a resource who want to get into a website like this, you can just take this as example, right? With the username and password. So user is nothing but individual people or applications like employees or apps. Example, Manoram is an IAM user who needs access to an S3 bucket. We'll see all this. User is just remember it's an individual person or application. That's user. Second thing, groups means, as name says, group means collection of users with same permissions. As just I told you, right? Suppose there are many courses here. This learning portal people, what they do is online learning portal people. For each course, they create a group. Assume that for each course, for AWS, they create one group. For Java, they create one group. For Python, they create one group. For DevOps, they create one group. Likewise, for different courses, because there are n number of courses. For each course, you create one group and attach whichever the user purchase that particular course, you attach that user to that course and provide permission to access that particular course. Is my statement clear, friends? Am I making it simple? Right? So that is what group is. What is a group here? Simple. Group is collection of users with same permissions. If you want, I can also show you all this with practical live sessions. Okay. We'll also go and create all this and see. Okay. But this is just understanding what is a group. Okay. In real time, when you work in real time as a DevOps engineer or a cloud engineer, what you are going to do here? Suppose when new uh, developer or suppose a new resource joined a company, as a cloud engineer or a DevOps engineer, what you are going to do? You are going to create a user and attach him to that particular group. Groups in sense there might be many groups. Let me just explain about groups. So this is clear, right? This part is clear, right? Authentication, authorization. I am moving to the next level. So now suppose what is user means simple, right? User can be any employee or any individual. Simply speaking, individual or employee. Suppose we are working in an IT industry. For us, mostly it will be users means it will be employee. Will you agree? For us, each user is one employee or each employee is a user. So I'll just make it like this. Now, what is this employee? Once any employee joins a company, the first thing they need is access to what, friends? Always any employee, because we are DevOps engineers. Anyone joins our organization because we manage at least 10 to 12 dev teams. Okay. So first thing is we manage access. They have to raise request for access. This is the common activity. Anybody in an organization will do this, not only just our company, anywhere. So access request. Suppose there are two ways to get this access request. If you are having a cloud computing in your organization, these DevOps people or cloud people will take care of this. Okay. Suppose if you don't have cloud, they have different ways of managing this access request. There is an alternative way. But what is our approach now? Now we are going to focus on cloud approach. When someone new person comes, what they have to do as they need to use cloud, they have to provide access to what to your AWS. For that, what are the steps this DevOps engineer or cloud engineer must do here? Who manages all these cloud environments? First thing is so they have to create user. This is very important step. And just creating user is not sufficient, right? Second step, attach policies. Okay, what is that? That DevOps engineer or the other one like cloud administrator has to do. First activity, if any employee joins, is that employee make a request to this DevOps engineers or cloud administrators, and this is the strategy they follow. This is the process they follow. They create user. That is the first step. And these are all very simple things in AWS. Even if it is real time or if you do in learning this thing, right? If you play around in your this thing in your AWS accounts, this is same. But my slightly what? There will be a slight change when you get into the real time. Just trust me. Okay. So once you attach policies means what? What is this again? Let me explain this clearly. What is attaching policy? Right? Means this policy says, as name says, as this definition says, let me just go back to the definition. What is that policy says? Helps you control who can access what. Policy talks about this one, this statement, friends. What is that? What is that statement? Controls who can access what. So suppose I want to have access to S3 bucket because that is very important, right? I have to store all my reports or read my reports or do something for my project. So simple thing is I want to have access to S3. S3 means it's a storage bucket, friends. Okay. I want to have access to S3 storage. For any resource, this is important when you join in a new company. This is one policy. Another core service I need to have access is EC2 instance, because that helps me to install many of this, to create a machine, simply speaking, to create a machine and then install whatever the software that is needed for the project. Suppose I need to have access to EC2. Okay. Similarly, I need to have access to DynamoDB or okay, or what else? RDSDB. There are many things here, right? Okay. Blah blah blah. Let's assume this. Right. Providing all this access in the right. Providing all this access is done in the form of policies. And let me make it simple. Only thing is here, friends, if you just understand all this, the practical becomes very easy for you. Okay, I'm just simplifying the theory here so that once you understand theory, practical, you just feel like a cakewalk. Trust me, friends. And now this is about policy, and these policies are nothing but simply how these policies are implemented. These are nothing but simple JSON files. Okay, policies are nothing but what, friends say. It's nothing but a simple JSON file with the what permissions you should have, what you shouldn't have. Okay, that is a simply speaking. This is how we provide policies with the help of what is that, with a JSON file. Are you clear with all this now? So what is that once any employee joins a organization, what is that DevOps engineer or cloud administrator should do? Right? Simple, right? First create users, attach policies. And then do you think we have to stop here? These two things are just enough for any new employee. Anybody wants to add anything here? Another important thing is after creating user and attaching policies, of course, you don't need to do this. This is actually a very basic thing. See, if you have very limited users, you create user and attach policies directly to the user. Suppose your company is a very big company. Okay, like our company where lakhs of employees work in that company. Okay, so very big company. Okay, there will be so many new people keep coming to the organization. Let's make it simple for you, right? Many new people coming and joining into the company, right? Say like campus grads or experienced people, right? We have so much of recruitment for campus grads usually, right? And then experienced people, right? When you have this kind of huge inflow to the companies, huge recruiting in the companies, creating user independently is okay, fine. But attaching policies to each user becomes a bit what? Tedious job. Okay, tedious in sense, it becomes more difficult when you do this individually. Then what is that I should do? Then in that case, instead of attaching policies to each user, I create groups. What is that I do? I create groups like, dev group, okay, and then QA group, okay, and then I create admin group, okay. Anyhow, we have very few administrators, but dev and QA are very much more into the any organization, okay. And then DevOps itself will have DevOps group, okay. Likewise, there are many groups based on the organization structure and the kind of work they do. You got it right. Suppose if some employee belongs to dev team, then we just assign policies of dev, what that particular team's policies, and that's what to this group. And then what is that I do? So simple. Once these groups are in place, the happiest thing is, let me just explain this clearly. Whatever policies are access needed for that group, we attach those policies to that group. Okay, so easiest thing is attach policies to the group, right? For example, best important activities is having access to EC2 instance, full access, or there are again controlled access. We will see all that. So what kind of access you want, you can provide that access to EC2. That is one thing. Second thing, access to S3 buckets, access to databases. Okay. Are you following, friends? Access to databases, all that stuff. Okay, dot, dot, dot. Understood now? So what kind of resources this dev group should access? All that we are policies of those resources we attach to that group. If it is dev group, we attach whatever policies needed to that dev group. If it is QA, we attach all that policies that is needed to QA group. Similarly, same for other groups. Of course, there will be change in that policies. Not everyone needs same access. So that anyhow, this DevOps engineers or cloud administrators take care of that. But this is the idea. Now, what is the advantage with this and what is the disadvantage with the first approach? If we are creating every time new employee joins and you create new user, attach policies to user, suppose 100 users comes, attaching to every user will be a tedious task. Means it will be become little excessive. Understood? So to avoid that, what is that we do? We create groups to any user and then attach all the policies needed for that particular group. And then we just attach the user to the group. Finally, what we do, we don't again assign policies to each user, right? So we simply what we simply attach user to this group. Simply once that groups are there in place, what is that activity we do? Attach user to group. You understand this, friends? Is this clear now? If you understand this, now the practical activity we are going to do that becomes much more easier for all of you. Understood? So now, whatever the practical activity we are doing now, we are going to see all this with live and practical examples. But before we understand all this stuff is clear for all of you. Can I get an yes or no from all of you? Is
Yes.
this clear for all of you? I made sure that everything is clear for you. And I believe I just used a very simple language to make you understand this. Okay. This should be very simple to understand. So that is what all this about. Now you go and read this key points here. What is user means? Now you should know. It is someone like employee who joins your company as a new employee. Then what does that employee need? That employee needs access. That generally access is provided through what? Through policies. Okay. And then what is the purpose of groups here? Groups means generally instead of attaching policies to each user, creating groups is the best strategy in any organization. Because if you attach policy to each user, again, it takes long time. So much of time waste for it's actually time consuming activity for DevOps engineers or cloud administrators. In a company, always, as our main this thing should be we have to do more activity in less time, friends. This is very important, right? We have to do more things in less time. That is what most of the organization look for. So create groups and then attach policies to the groups and then add user to the groups. This is the strategy you should follow. Roles means these are nothing but what is the temporary access given to the users, apps or services. You got it right. Again, I'll talk about this. You don't need to confuse anything. Just understand what is this terminology. Just remember that what is the role? Role is a temporary access given to a user or apps or services. You got it right. And we'll talk about this again in detail. Now, so this is overall idea. What are the terminologies you should remember when you start working with IAM? You should remember users and then groups and then policies and then roles. These four terminologies, this should be in your mind. Got it now? Now, finally, what we are going to do. What is IAM here? Again, this is discussed now. Now, when I walk through these things, it would be very easy for you, friends, because with this 10-20 minutes discussion we had here, I know you might feel like, where is the practical this thing? But if you understand these things, practical will become much more easier. That's what generally I do. Okay. So now if you see IAM is nothing but what as discussed from the beginning in today's session, this should very clear if you are listening to me. It is nothing but authentication plus authorization in AWS. And we took many examples to understand this. We took the example of learning portals, what is authentication, and we also understood what is authorization. You can also take it as a kind of POC, and you can create a kind of POC like learning portal. Assume that each user is a learner, and they are what is that? They are registering from some course. You can take it as a small project. Anyhow, I'll give you at the end of the session. Okay. Now, what is authentication? It talks about who are you, and generally how do you get authenticated? This is the quick question you should understand. What is that? How do you get authenticated? Most of us know authentication happens with username and password, right? Because if you say Gmail, or if you say now Joho Mail, I want to also use that word now, Joho, or many websites, right? You try to access many websites, as we know, even AWS as well. What is that? How you are authenticating yourself? You are authenticating with username and password. That is the common approach or common strategy people follow for authenticating, right? So, and then what else other ways are there? Access keys. We are also going to see this, and then MFA. So multi-factor authentication. These days, to because the cyber crimes, everything is getting increased. So all the different, what shall I say, this Gmail or all these organizations, they are taking extra care to avoid these cyber issues. So they are inculcating this MFA. They are trying to add this MFA, multi-factor authentication, to all of us. Even I have this even for what? For my bank accounts, right? Most of you also should have that. Similarly, what is that? Same thing is applied for AWS accounts. You got it right. So you know what is this multi-factor authentication? We have that app like Google Authenticator or Microsoft Authenticator, and it generates a code, and we have to enter that code into that particular portal, and then we should gain access. And this is other way. Third thing, federated identity. You can see here, right? Login with Google Active Directory, Okta, etc. I didn't tested this federated identity, but I tested all remaining three approaches. Okay. So this is overall idea of what is that? What is authentication? And by now you should get that basic idea of authentication. What is IAM? Simply speaking, IAM in sense you don't need to think too much. Just nothing but authentication and authorization. Okay. So, and these are the four different ways of getting authenticated in AWS. Okay. Using username password, which we are already doing that. If you ask me, we are already doing that authentication and authorization. That is one thing. Access keys, I'll show you. This is generally done when you want to create a CLI, command line interface, and then if you want to access to AWS from CLI, not within AWS account, but outside AWS account. I'll show you that as well. You got it right. So like I'll just show you like this. You can see here, if you see all this here. So I'm trying to use AWS directly from my command prompt. You can see I tried to create some, what is that? Put some access this S3 reports. Okay, I try to download this S3 reports from my local machine from the command prompt itself. So to do that, right, this is actually called command line interface. And from here, okay, if I want to do anything on that AWS, then what is that I need? I need this access keys. I'll show you that. That is again a bit of long activity, but we do that. MFA anyhow, you can do that while creating this AWS account, or while creating user account. It asks for MSA. You can add that, and then you can enable that MFA, multi-factor authentication. So did I make it clear for all of you friends? Okay, then let's get to the next step. Shall I move to the next step now? Are you good with this?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay. If you want anything to repeat, or if you want to understand anything, let me know, friends. Okay. You don't need to hesitate, because I generally have these sessions only to at least share whatever I know and whatever I learn, friends, and to make sure to help people. So don't hesitate. Ask me what if you don't understand anything, or if you miss anything, we can work out. We can sit and work on that. I don't hesitate to share whatever I know. Okay. So that's the simple thing. You have full access to me and to my resources. There is no this thing. Okay. Somebody asked me to share this PPT. Yeah, I will do that. Okay. I think Revati asked me, if I'm not wrong. I don't know if Revati joined this session today. Okay. I'll just put this in this thing as well. Now going to the next one. Okay, you can see here. This is an example, of course, about you. I'll explain all these steps in detail with the AWS this thing. Okay, so that gives you a clear picture. And for this session, you don't need any background again. So if someone joined new to this session, this is altogether a new start. Okay, suppose you didn't know about EC2. EC2 is a different thing. IAM is a different thing. To understand IAM, you don't need to have knowledge on EC2, right? This start is enough, friends. Okay, let's get to this now. Authorization, anyhow, explain. I'll show you all this with live exam, practical thing in the AWS account itself, so that you get a clear picture. But by now, you should know what is authorization, right? Authentication part is clear. Okay, Nomi example, Nomi logs into AWS console using her username and password or MFA. That's authentication, right? Next, authorization. Once authenticated, what is this AWS do? What can you do once you are authenticated? What resources you can access? That is authorization. Right? AWS checks what actions you are allowed to perform. How does AWS know that? So for that, we attach policies. Okay, this is controlled by IAM policies, which are nothing but simple JSON documents. If you ask me a question, what is that JSON document? How it look like? We are going to see all that, and it is not really something difficult to understand. It is very easy thing to just understand what is IAM policy. It's simple JSON document, right? You know how JSON will be in the form of key and value pairs, right? And it just says what should have access, what shouldn't have access. Simply policies define permissions, allow or deny. What should be allowed, what should be denied. That's what policy is all about. Example, Nomi is authenticated, right? But her policy only allows S3 get object. Suppose if her policy is about just only read only policy, then she can get the objects from that S3. But if she tries to delete that S3 object, then automatically AWS bluntly denies that, because she's not authorized to delete, because her access is only what is that read only access. She can have access to read that AWS S3 buckets, but she cannot delete that. So what should be done is decided by what? What cannot be done is decided by the policies. What kind of policies you choose. Suppose you want delete permission, then you have to get full permission for that. You got it, right? So it's all about what is that? Simply speaking, friends, it's all about policies. Authorization is completely dependent on what? Policies, right? And that is very simple in AWS. Again, I'm just only trying to put all this into your mind, okay? Trying to feed into the mind so that it's easy for you when I do a practical. Is that clear now? Next, get into this now. And simple analogy for this authentication and authorization from real life. What is authentication? Showing your office ID card at the building entrance is authentication. Yes or no? Because this is needed for me. Every day when I enter into my company, I should show the ID card. At least otherwise I should at least make it visible to the security guards. Authorization in sense, once I enter into the company, again I have to, if I want to get into my lobby, I should be authorized to enter into that lobby. Suppose I want to go to some other private lobby, is it possible? The best example is this for authorization. Generally in my company, there are two things, public access and private access. Okay, public is for most of the people, private is for very few people. Someone has private access, only they can enter in that private rooms, but we don't have access to private rooms. Do you get this, friends? So for that, what is that I need? What is that I need if I should enter into private lobby? I should have authorization. Without authorization, your ID card will give what is that? It is going to throw error at that access this thing. I hope this is clear for you now. So authentication is something, right, which is allowing you from the very basic thing by you using that card or username or password, all that. Authorization is what? Which is nothing but again another level of this thing, security, where what should be accessed, what not should be accessed. Right. And the example which I gave you, right? Private access, public access should be the best example for authorization. Not everyone is authorized to enter private lobby, but everyone is authorized to enter public lobby. We can go to any floor, any rooms except private rooms in our company. Keep that in mind, friends. Understood? But anyone can enter with the ID card. Anyone can enter into the company. We don't have any issues at all. You got it right. That is authentication. Okay. So now that is the idea. So finally, let's get to the next thing. Okay. This is all about simple analogy from real life about what is authentication, what is authorization. Okay. Next after that, even server room. Generally, we don't have access to server rooms. I tried one day, it threw error because I am a curious case of this thing. Okay, so now get into this discussion. Shall we start the practical now? Are you ready for practical implementation?
Yes.
Okay, let's do that now. So, but if you understand this 30-40 minutes discussion, this makes very simple for you. Okay, and you feel like you can do a bit much faster now. Okay, that's the kind of background we have so far in this 40 minutes. So now what is the first thing? Suppose an employee entered a new company, okay, your company, and you are a DevOps engineer or cloud administrator. What is that you are going to do? You are going to create user. Suppose that user is ABC. I just put ABC. You replace that with whatever username you want while creating in AWS accounts. I just make it as a generic name and change that with whatever you want. Okay. So what is an user here? Anyhow, any new employee, right, who enters into your app, not only just employee, any application or any service, also we can call it as user. For now, let us stick it to employee. Okay, now what is that you should do with users? Let's talk about user management now. Let's jump to the user management. So what is that we should do with user? You create a user. That is very simple thing. By default, a new IAM user has no permissions. But that new IAM user will have only one permission to just to change your password. What's the permission by default you get when you create a user here? Okay, you get a permission to change your password. That's all. All other no other than that, you don't have access to any other permissions. Is that clear? So to give permissions, by now you should understand what is that we should do. If you want to provide permissions, so I am saying this. So by now you should be very clear with three things. And fourth thing, we need to talk more about it later. What is that? You should know what is user, what is group, and what is policy. Yes or no, friends? Row thing we'll talk again. First, let's get familiar with all these three first. Okay. So you can see here. To give permissions, you should attach policy, and that is very simple. When you look at when you go to the AWS window, you don't find anything hard here. Okay. Now, how to attach policies? Okay, I go on little deep into all these strategies. Generally, people just show you how to just create user attach policy or how to create group, right? And then how to create user and then how to how to attach policy to the group and then attach user to the group. Okay, these are the things generally people will try to explain, but we have gone a little bit extra in this. Okay, all this are going to help you a lot. Okay. If you don't understand what I explained, let me just write here. What is that generally we need? So approach one. So there are different ways, right? Way one is simple. What is that? Create user, individual user, and then attach policy. This is very simple and very straightforward. Right. Second approach, way to or approach to whatever you name it. Okay. So different ways, right? So first thing, you can create user. Okay. Just keep it there and create group. Okay. And then I'm just giving you steps very clearly so that it's easy for you. And then attach policy. And then once after you create group and attach policy, then attach user. Right? See, I'll just make it simple like steps. So step one, what is that we follow in real time? First approach or second approach? What is that we follow in real time? And then attach policy and finally what? Attach user. Automatically once you create group, this is very easiest way to understand different ways of what is that creating users and attaching policies or creating groups and attaching users and policies. Which one you follow when while you are working in the real-time DevOps management or cloud management? This one, way one or way two, friends? Approach one or approach two? We always follow what is that? Most of the time people follow approach two because approach one is again a tedious process. Okay, it's a very tiresome process. So people don't use this much. Okay, most of the real-time experts follow this. Okay, that's the idea. Now let's get into the business now. What shall we do right now? That is approach two. There is another approach. We have added one more. So this is attach inline policy. So one is you can choose already existing policies. What is that? In you can see here there are different ways. Where is that? Different ways of creating users, right? Okay. So sorry, ways of attaching policies. We'll come back to this, but these are the two strategies we follow while creating users fields. While attaching policies, there are three ways. I'll talk about that. So again, I'll let me reframe this, whatever I want to explain. So creating users, we do in two ways like this. This we'll see both approaches. Okay. First, we create user and we directly attach policy and test it. What is that we do? So let me just give you a roadmap for you. So you feel it much more easier. And finally, test that. Okay. Test the policy. Similarly, again, here also, same thing. Fifth, always, what is that? Test the policy. Okay, this is the these are the two ways of creating users. Okay, two ways of creating users and then attaching policies. Okay, then once you create users, again attaching policies, again we have different, I mean, three ways. What is that? Directly you can, this one, strategy one, create user and attach policy. That is approach one. And second thing, approach two. You can see here. Okay, this is clear, right? Directly attach policy to the user. That is approach one, which I just mentioned here. We'll do that. You just observe. If you have any question or if you have any confusion, let me know. We'll talk. But this is strategy one. After you create user, you can directly attach policy, but not recommended. But we'll do that here as a this thing of as a matter of practice. Next one. Strategy two. How do you attach policy? Create group like developers, attach policy to the group. That is approach two of attaching policies. Okay. Approach three. What is that? Attach inline policy. Right? Inline policy in sense it's a policy which you create. It's called customized policy. What is that? It's called creating your own policy. I'll just show you how to do that. Later on, you can just okay, add or remove, and you can do that permutations and then just decide what you want to keep, what you want to deny. So what you want to have access, what you want to deny. That's the idea. So attach inline policy means creating your own policy or customized policy. You can see policy written directly inside your user ABC. How to do that? I'll show you. Everything is simple again here. Okay. So now let's start it now. Now we are into the business now. We just started. Once this window comes, we are going to start the practical implementation of all this stuff. So finally, I want to confirm, make it clear for you. Just put all this information into your mind. What is that? How many ways we can create users and groups? There are two ways: create user, attach policy, and test that policy. Of course, testing is optional, but creating user and attaching policy is something important. Second, we can create user and create group, attach policy to group, and then attach user to the group, and then test the policy. This is strategy two. Again, third way of attaching policy is way three. What is that way three? I'm just writing here only just to make sure this is strongly inserted into your mind. What is that? Create inline policy. What is inline policy? I'll show you all this. Just understand these steps. Get a clarity on these steps. If you know that there are three steps, if your mind knows that, then you can pay more attention and understand things in most simplified this thing. Inline policy means policy which is created, written by you directly. Okay. Inside that user. Okay, I'll show you all this, but just remember these steps. Okay. So creating users and attaching policies, all that. How many approaches are there? 3 approaches. We'll see all that. Okay. So shall we start the practical this thing now? Adventure. Let's start that now. Okay. Let's come here. So first thing, get into your AWS account. When you create users, when you create groups, when you do all this, always use root account. What is that you should do? Use root account. Okay, I am already in root account. If you want me to again start from the beginning, I am logging out of all sessions now. There are many sessions I have just been playing around. I just logged out of everything now. You can see here. I logged out of everything. And we create everything as a fresh one now. Now let's not, okay. Let's not again use already existing users or existing groups or anything. Let's create everything as fresh. Okay. Now sign into the console. This is the basic step we always do, right? And try to log into your which account now. So now we are going to do what? These are the things I am going to do. What is that? First thing, approach 1 I am following. Create user, attach policy, test that policy. For this, what is that I need to do all this activity? I generally do it from root user. From where? From root user. Right? So testing, I can do it from my this thing. Right. So this doing from root user, creating user, and attaching policy do from root user. Okay. And testing you can do from user itself. Okay. And all that steps. This is very interesting. If you just learn it with curiosity, all these steps are very interesting, friends. You understand? So now how do you do that? Let's get into the AWS account. Now come here. Okay. And then just enter your root credentials. What is that I should do? Root credentials. Come here. So here just enter. For root credential, I have my username and my password for that, which I already created. And I'm using for my playground. Okay, so then password. For some of you, MFA might not be there if you didn't enable it. But for me, I enabled MFA for my AWS account. So what is that? It asked me MFA. For you, if it is not asking MFA, you don't need to worry. You can proceed without MFA if you didn't enable MFA on your AWS account. Is that clear? Yes or no, friends? So now let me just pass MFA code. I'm using what authenticator? Google Authenticator. If you want, you can do practice along with me, friends, because with the kind of pace I am going, you don't need feel, you can directly practice with me. So here, what is that? I am passing my code 463. Okay. There is something wrong. Maybe with password or something. I can try again. Okay, let me pass again. 838463. Okay, it's asking again now. Okay, let's do one thing. Now we have a fresh one. Let's try that. 793. Okay, is the problem with my this thing? I will sign in back again. My password is wrong actually. Okay, now it should be okay. Now sign in and then enter the MFA code. Okay, now it is 70. Okay, it changed now. 357417. Okay, it just stays for a couple of seconds. Now it's log. It threw that this login. Okay, I'm successful now. Now we are in AWS window. I mean this landing zone. Okay, now you can see there are many things we are using here. For now, so far, I don't have any billing. That's the good part. But still, because I practice on multiple things, it's okay for me. Now getting to this, what is today's activity? Today's activity is IAM. Go to the, if you don't see it, you don't need to worry. Just come here, search here, say IAM. Automatically, it will show you that I am this thing here. You can see here, IAM service here. And click on that, it will open that IAM window. And you can see all different things associated with the identity access management. You can see here whatever we have discussed so far in the last 1 hour, that users, roles, policies, user groups, so many things are there. Okay. So today what we are going to do now, these are all very simple things, friends. I'm going to create user first. Go to the user. So once you come here, just click on user and then you can see there are many users. And now it shows you list of all the users that were already there in your account. And then create user. Okay. So I'll just put it as some name here. Okay. Some ABC user. Now I put it as ABC. So, and then user one. Or I'll just name it as, because I generally follow this thing, know me user one. I have know me test one, something like that. So once you do this, next thing is there is a checkbox here, provide user access to AWS management console. Okay, you just tick that. Is that okay? And then after that, what is that you should do here? You can see I want to create IAM user, click on that. Why I choose this? If I choose this automatically, what is that? It's give provide me with auto generated password. For the first time, generally as a DevOps engineer, what do you do? And you remember there, for the first time when you join any company, they provide with some auto generated password and they ask you to change your passwords later. Any administrator, whoever it is, might be DevOps administrator or okay, cloud administrator. They try to give you create user account with the auto generated password so that you can change that password in the next login. Is that clear? Got it right, friends? So that's why generally always choose. If you are a DevOps engineer, you do this. You create that employee information here, that new employee, and then give him auto-generated password so that he or she might change it in the next login. And that is needed, right? As a part of security measure. So that's what we have to do. And finally, what is that? Just say, are you following, friends? Following? Okay. So now, what is that I should do now? Once you create user, choose this again. I am just quickly, okay, recapping these things. Okay, giving a quick recap. Choose this, tick this, and then choose. I want to create an IAM user, and all this is clearly documented. You don't need to worry about anything. You can see here. I just put each document. Maybe I just need some headings. That should be fine. Create user. Then I shown you what is that you should do here. Okay, you should tick that. Then what is that you should do? This shows you by default what is that automatic auto generated password thing. By default this is selected, you don't need to do anything. Then you have next button here. Then after that what you have to do, once that is there, when you say next, you can see that here, and there are different sub small windows here, you can see here, right? So what is that, add to user group, that is one. Then second thing, copy permission, attach policy, all that. There are multiple things. I have one earlier while I was recording this, I just have a test group here. But okay, we are not going to do that in the first approach. Okay, we are doing different, I mean, different ways of creating these users and attaching policies. So we are following the strategy one. Okay. So now you can see all that. Now what is that? Go here. Once you choose that and then say next, what is that you have? It moves to your next window, that is set permissions. Under that you can see there are multiple things. There are different permission options here. You can see here add user to group. So if you should add user to the group, before that group must be created. The question is, did we create any group as of now? Right? If it is just a new creation, then we don't have any groups. You don't need to worry about that. First, you can create user and then you can attach to the group later. It's not like we should do all that in one go. Right? So now we are following this. This is enough. We don't need group to test our applications. Okay. Without group also you can have access to the policies. Right? But why group? In a real time, if you every new user comes and if you create attached policies to every new user, again instead of one person doing multiple things, we need multiple people doing the same activity. Okay, so that is why to reduce that efficient, this thing, we prefer groups. Oh, sorry, friends. What is that I should do now? You can simply create user and then attach policy also later. You don't need to do anything or attach policy. Suppose if I say, so first thing, what is the strategy we are following? Create user, attach policy. Then if you want to attach policy, just choose that attach policy here and then come here. These are all the policies, right? You can see there are many policies. You can choose any of this. Okay. So what is that I need now? Suppose I want to have access to S3. Okay. And then there are different access for S3. You can see here S3 full time and S3. I choose only just for testing purpose. You can choose whatever it is, not full time. S3 full access. You can see here. Okay. There are multiple options. You can explore all these options here. Now what I am doing, I'm choosing S3 read-only access just for testing purpose. Likewise, you can choose whatever. Suppose you want to have access to EC2, you can just type in here EC2. It shows you what kind of access you want to EC2. Right. Suppose if you want to have access for administrator, then you can see here administrator access, which gives you full access on AWS account. You got it right. Likewise, for that user, what kind of policy you should attach? Policy in sense like, you are providing a permission to access a resource or to access a service. Are you following, friends? So what I am doing now, I just created user and I am attaching policy, but this can be done even after creating user. You don't need to do all that in one go, right? All that at the same time otherwise. So what is that? We have AWS is very flexible. After creating users, still you can attach permissions or policies. You got that, friends? So that is the idea. Now, what shall I do now? I just take one simple thing. Okay, S3. I take read. If you want, you can take full access also. It's not like I am taking S3 read only. Doesn't mean that you should take them. If you want, you can take full access so that you can do everything on that S3 bucket. You can read, you can delete, you can write, you can do whatever you want on that S3 bucket. You got it, friends? Next. I'm done with that. Finally, we are almost at the right last page of creating user. Now, if you see, I just added only one policy, right? How many policies I choose now while creating that user, know me user one? I just choose one policy. By default, always any user is having this IAM user change password. This policy comes by default, friends. Which policy? IAM user change password. Are you following? Right. So this is something I attach. Likewise, you can attach whatever policies you want to that user. You got it? Based on the kind of team he is joining and based on kind of work he does, you choose those permissions. Anyhow, you have a clear instructions like, which team should have what permissions. You don't need to worry about it as a DevOps engineer or as a what engineer? Cloud administrator. Okay, now what I have to do, finally, I'm done with the 3 steps. You can see here steps clearly. What is that you should do in step 1, step 2, step 3, and finally, what is that? Create user. I'm going with this and user is created. Tell me, do you really feel that this is difficult? Right? Even simple, right? Someone with basic information on systems can do this. Got it right, friends? So that simple this AWS is. Now, finally, once you do that, once you say create user, you should do one more last activity. What is that? You should download CSV. What is that you should do? Keep this, download the CSV and keep it somewhere safe in your machine so that you can use it for next login. You got it right? So what is that you should do? Download this CSV. I downloaded know me user one credentials. So this is the last activity. Once you created user, keep download this and keep it ready for the next login so that credentials are present in the CSV. I'll just open CSV and show. Maybe if you have a curiosity, why did I download this? Right? So when I download this, you can see there are credentials here. What are those credentials? You can see here. These are the credentials. Okay, I'll change this later. You don't need to worry about it. Even though you see these credentials now, even you can log in with these credentials for sure. But what I do, I will just change the credentials. Later on, I will remove my accounts as well so that you don't have access to anything. I'm just talking about the security part. Okay. So is this clear now? So these are the credentials, username, password, and then this ID, right? ID is this one. This is the one you need. Okay. So once you create user, right, and then once you download that CSV, and you can find that credentials of that user in this CSV, you can see here. And these are important for you in the next login. Next means whenever you want to do your login to that user account, then you can do that. And how many accounts are there now? Two accounts. One is what? Root account. The other one is your user account, which have all permissions. Which account have all permissions? Is it root account or user account? Quick question to all of you friends. Which
Root
account?
Root
Root.
account.
Definitely right, friends. Okay. Suppose user account, for sure you don't have. Where is that? Okay. User account don't have any permissions except what? Except what, friends? Except the policies you have attached. Just now you can see here on this. What did you attach? You attached permissions, sir. What is that? S3 read only policy and then change password policy. That's all. Change password comes by default and then S3 read only you attached it. But of course, you can add whatever policies you want to that or whatever permissions you want to that. It's okay, it's fine. But I'm just giving you a clear idea. Now, what do you do to test this user? Log out from root user. Okay, and then go to the sign in console again. Following, friends? See, with the kind of pace I am going, you can also do all this activity. You can also practice clearly. Understood, friends? So now what you can do? For this, once you come to the console window, there are two types of sign-ins, right? So far, we are using only root. Yes or no? We didn't try to you apply this IAM user sign-in, right? Yes or no? We didn't use this. But now we are going to do that. Now you understand, right? This is for authentication of user. What is this sign-in? This sign-in, this thing is for authentication of a user. So this username and this password is something which provides you authentication to that AWS account. But this user don't have access to everything. That you should keep in mind. Okay. So what I do now? Come here. So what is the what are the details I should enter here? Account ID. Where can I get this account ID? Come here. You can see here, right? Console sign in URL. Here, this particular part you can see here, right? You copy this. Okay. This one you have to copy. This all that integer number, whatever that is there, right? So that 10 digited or I am not sure exactly how many digits are there, but at 14 digited, whatever it is, copy that. Okay, 4 plus 3, 7, 7 plus 3, 12 digited, friends. It is a 12 digited ID. Copy that, go to the AWS account, pass that ID. Next, after that, username. Username, you choose that username, what you provided, this one. Okay, so now put it here. And password, for first time you have to use this. Which one? Your auto-generated password. Okay. Enter. That's all. Now you say sign in. When you say sign in, immediately it will ask you to change password in this next login, right? In this new login, it will ask to change password. Then pass this old password here and provide new password. Okay. Okay. What is that I do? I'm creating a new password here. See here. So I entered my old password. How to enter that old password? Go to that CSV file and then copy the password and come here. Okay. And just enter that. And username stays same. It doesn't change. And then change just add your new password and then retype it and then say confirm password change. Perfect. Password changed. And then it also entered into my user account. You can see here. When you come here, you see Everywhere you can see that access denied, right? You can see here. And also, what is that? These are the services you can see here. Right now, we have only access to what? We have access to what, friends? We have only access to change
Yes,
password
3.
thing that we did that.
Yes,
Okay.
3. We.
Yes, yes. One is change password. We did change it that is the access we have. Second thing, S3. As Revati mentioned, S3 is the only one we have access. But what access we have for S3? Again, a question for all of you. What access we
Only
have
read,
for S3? We have only read
read
access,
access.
right? We have only read access, but we don't have write access. Suppose you want to create any bucket. Can you create bucket now? No, you can't create bucket. Why don't I create a bucket now? Because if I say try to create a bucket, you can see just provide some, okay, my test bucket. Somebody would have already created so that it says it is already there or something. Okay, maybe if, this is simple. You do for creating bucket, you don't need to think twice. Okay, also you just choose. So while creating bucket, choose the same availability zone as you created your this thing. Okay. So now I choose Virginia and then just give some name, my test bucket. This won't work. I just want to show you, right, that this is not going to work because we attach read only permission. Bucket one or something. Let's see. And you don't need to change anything here. You can just go down. Maybe if you want, you can add this enable bucket versioning. That is the only change you can do. You can see here bucket versioning. And then what is that you should do? Create bucket. Do you think it is going to succeed? Are we going to be successful? Okay, bucket
No.
name already exists. We do one thing. Okay, so I'll just put 2025. My test bucket. Oh, people already. Okay, so I'll do one thing then. My test bucket. Okay, let's see this. Already even test bug is there. People have named all that. My know me bucket one. Know me user bucket one. Okay, let's put like that. If you want, you can add hyphens as well. But underscore, I doubt it is allowed in this one. You can check that as well. If it is says it is not allowed, don't use that. Okay. Now come down. This versioning is it's up to you. If you want, you can enable it. Okay. And then finally, what is that? Create bucket. And what is that it is saying? It should say this. What is that? To create bucket, you need this permission. Will you agree, friends? So what is that I should do right now? If I should create bucket, my permission given to this user, no me user is just only read only permission. It's not write permission. What permission? Right. Or we don't have full access there. Then what is that I should do now? What is that I should do now? Any suggestion? Either I have to go back to the root and then create a bucket. Okay. For this user, what is that I should do? Create bucket. And then what I have to do? And then once that bucket is created, already buckets are there. We don't need to worry about it because we have some buckets already created. But I will show you how to create from the beginning so that it's easy. You can see here, right? You can have access to that. But I want you to understand this, how to create buckets, right? That S3 bucket, S3 storage, and then what else? How to, so second, that is next one. How to add a file to, because the purpose of this S3 buckets is for storage of files. It might be CSVs, it might be text files, it might be JSONs. So we store different things in these buckets, S3 buckets, and just get that clarity, right? How to create bucket, go to the root. And we are going to see all that, how to create bucket, how to add a file to that bucket. Okay. And then after that, again, come back to user. Okay. And then access bucket, because we have read only permission that allows us to access bucket. And then what we can do, I'm just giving you steps clearly. It's easy for you. And then download file from the bucket. Okay, from the bucket. And this shows that we have user read-only permission for that user. Suppose I do one more testing. What is that? Delete, try to delete bucket. Okay, or delete file. Try to delete file. It should provide deny. It should not provide access. It should not allow you to do that, but it should deny deleting file because again, our permission is just S3 read only, but it's not S3 write permissions. Only you can do deletions if you are allowed to do write permissions. Or you should have full permission, I believe. Okay. Check on that. What permission we need to do to delete files there. Okay. Full permission is the best thing. But anyhow, we are testing it a permission here. That is the idea. So these are the steps we should do right now. So I'm doing it to show you about creating buckets and then adding a file to the bucket. And then also after that, again, testing it with the user account. Right? Is that clear for you? Okay, let's do that now. Ready for that now? Again, sign out. So just this is, you have to create your playground like this and just play around it and practice it automatically. You just enjoy this AWS thing. And same thing, right? If you ask me a question, if you master one cloud technology, it's almost similar for I mean GCP or Azure or anything. Okay. So now get into the root account. Okay. And then this one, and then next, and then password. Okay. And then next, sign in, and then MFA code. Okay. 005254. Okay. Let's say sign in. Okay. There is a problem with the password. Okay. So now again, I should say sign in again, MFA code 5072554. Let's say sign in. Now this time I'm good. I'm successful. Okay. Now shall we create a bucket now? Are you ready for creating bucket, friends? Okay. So what is that I should do now? If I should create a bucket, go to S3. Okay. And then you can see here, there is a button here to create bucket directly. There are a couple of buckets I had created for testing purpose. Generally, I just terminate my instances so that to avoid this additional billing, but it's okay. Let's create bucket. Now here, what is that I should do? Okay, I don't think know me user bucket. One, or you put one like that. If you want, we can just adding 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 as and when needed if you create new buckets. Now, what is that I should do? That's all. Just provide bucket name and just leave all this, whichever is by default checked. Just leave them as is. You don't need to do anything. And just choose this enable bucket versioning. That's all. And then finally create bucket. Okay, just. So we created a bucket now. You can see here. Oh, there is some kind of bucket name has, see, you can say I put underscore. So AWS is shouting at me. Guess right. And then now I just fixed the issue here. I have issue with the naming. I tried to fix it and provide proper naming standard. Okay. Create bucket. Bucket created. You can see here. My name user bucket one. You can see here, right? So bucket created. And then what you can do, just you do one thing. Select this bucket and then click. And it's created in where it's created in Virginia. You can see here and US East one. Keep these details. It would be helpful for you later. Okay. So now once this bucket is created, next step, click on that bucket and you can come, you come to the next window here, you can see here. And you get all this detailing about buckets, all different tabs like metadata properties, what properties you are using here. Okay, you can see these properties, okay. And also, what is this here? You can also have access to this with AWS CLI, so command line interface. I'll show you that later. That is a big activity. Maybe tomorrow we see that. Permissions. You can see all different permissions you have on this bucket, and then metrics, and then management. Okay, what is the size of your bucket? All that. It depends on the data you enter. Better once you because these are billable things. So once you test and do all that, just terminate your instances so that all this will be removed from the account. Management, all this, and then access points, all this. Okay. Anyhow, so what is our this thing now? Come to the objects part. Now, what are the file you want to upload to this S3 bucket? Right, that you have to put it into the S3. You want some data inside S3, right? Generally, what is there inside S3? Like CSV files or JSON files or text files or anything. For now, I just have created one simple thing today for today's demo, right? What is that? So downloads, where is that sample report? I just added a text file. If you want, I'll just copy and paste this. Let me just do one thing. Anyhow, I'll be sharing PPT. PPT has everything. Okay. So where is this attachment? I try to attach, get more apps on. No, it should be fine. I'll just copy and paste it. You can just, what is that you can do? Anything, just open in text file and just what is that you can do? You can just add some data in that and then save it as .txt for testing purpose to upload into the S3 bucket. Okay. Okay, you can take this and put it into Notepad and save as some sample report okay, txt. Or if you want, you can create a CSV file or Excel file or JSON file, whatever you want, and you can put into that. Okay, that makes sense. Once that is ready, what you have to do? Say upload here. Okay, once you say upload, you can come here. So generally, this is where your files are stored. This is your path where your files will be stored. That is S3 colon that bucket name. Okay. And then here, once you say upload, you come here to this window and then there is upload button here. Click on it. Okay. So you don't need to do anything. What is that it is saying? You don't need to worry about anything here. That's fine. So come here, click on upload. You must add files or folders. Okay, I got it now. So when I say upload, simple, right? What is that I didn't do here is go to the back thing. Okay, upload is fine. So once I say upload, I have to add files. Why it's yelling at me is I again had gone to that upload button and said upload. But what is the missing part? I didn't add files. If you say add files, it will pop up and you can insert, I mean, add files from anywhere from the local machine or your office machine, right? Whatever file you want to add here. And then you can just choose sample report, enter here. Automatically that file is added and you can see here that sample report here. You can see, got it, right? And it's 149 something bytes or something. And then finally you can say upload. Now you don't get that error. That will be just like uploaded into that bucket. Okay. Now what is that we do? We ticked these two steps here. Okay. What are those two steps? I went to the root account. I created a bucket. I added a file. Now what is that I should do? Next steps. Again, get log out from root. So bucket is created successfully. File is added to the bucket success. You can see here. All that is done. Then you can close this. These are simple things, friends. Okay. There is no much of drama here. Just straightforward. Okay. Now log out of root. Again, I did my play here. Let's go to the user account. Now what is that I should do? Sign into console. And then again, get those details. What is that? Your this one. You don't need to go to CSV every time. You can put it in some notepad and then use it for in your subsequent logins. Okay. So I entered my ID and then my password is, sorry, username is this, password. Anyhow, I am keeping it secret for myself. Okay. Right. Next, after that, entering the password. And then now I try to enter into the user account. Okay. Now I'm testing my access, which is assigned to this user, nom user1. Okay. Go to the S3. because that is the only service which we have access. We don't have access to anything else for this user, NOMI user one. Okay. And we can access all these buckets, whichever we have under this. Okay. These buckets are accessible because we have read only permission. So now, which is the one I created just now? This one. Enter. Now you can see when I am going back because just to once I enter into the user, you can see go to the S3 and choose automatically. Once you get to that S3, you can see the buckets information here, all this. And then you can see all that buckets we created from the root account. Okay. If you have full permission on S3, you don't need to go to root account. You can create that bucket here and you can test it here itself. Is that clear, friends? Now what is that? Click on this bucket and you can see the report here. And if you want to download it, suppose you created a reports for your Q1 or Q2. This is what is that Q3, right? For quarter 3, you put all the reports in that bucket and you want to download it, and some of your manager or senior level management ask you for that report. You can just directly download from here. You can go to that bucket name and choose this bucket, and then you can simply click on what download. When I say download, you can see that automatically this report is downloaded to my local machine. Can you see it now? It's downloaded into my local machine. In my downloads, you can see this. You can see all this. Understood now? You can see the report. Whatever we have uploaded, the same we can see here. That's all right. So this is about what is that testing permissions. So what permission do we have? Again, another same question. I am repeating the question again. What permissions do we have? Only read only, S3 read only. Now what I am doing a monkey testing. What is that? I am deleting this. Because if you don't have permission, and deleting is always the last option. Generally we do in real time. Okay. Now I try to delete. Okay. And come here and then select this. Okay. And to delete this, generally, we should say type delete here if you want to proceed. Okay. And this button is enabled. And then I try to delete that object. And you can see here, it won't happen. Why? Fail to delete object. Why I am failed to delete this object? Because it has just only S3 read only permissions. It doesn't have any full permission or right delete permissions. You get that, friends? So that's why definitely it should throw this here. Are you good now? So this is about creating users. Okay, we almost try to nail on these topics. Okay, what are those topics, friends? So one way, first approach one, we successfully done here. What is that? Creating user, attaching policy, and then test the policy. Did we test it or not? And then also we learned in the process, we also learned how to create a bucket, how to add a file to the bucket, and then again how to test it, how to access bucket, download it from the bucket, and then delete, try to delete something which should deny. Did we do all these steps or not, friends? Hello.
I got a question regarding the bucket.
Okay.
Actually, since the S3 user does not have access to the bucket, so we enter into the root as a enter into the portal as a root user. Then we have created the bucket. We have attached the file into the bucket,
Correct.
and we did everything. That it's all understandable. The one thing which is not clear is like we have created the bucket as a root user, and under the root we must have a different users, maybe like user 1, user 2, user 3.
Correct. Correct.
And how this particular user 1 can able to access that particular bucket. Is it like
Because
all the users can access the bucket?
if you have that S3 permission for that, for those users, you got it? I attached S3 read only permission while creating that user. Do you, I think you have observed it, right, Revati?
Yeah, that I observed. No, my
Correct.
point is like we have entered into the portal as a root user and we have created the bucket, and under the bucket we have the file.
Okay,
Now,
I
fine.
got your question.
Now,
I understand
yeah.
your question. Okay, let me just show you. Okay. Your question is, does all those users under that root account has access to this S3 is your question, right?
My question is exactly how that particular user one is accessing that particular bucket.
Correct. Let me show you. Let me show
Did
you that.
we give that permission to the user one?
Maybe I
Okay,
think,
you can access my. Yeah.
yeah, I think we had a clear this thing on that. We tried to have a clear all the steps. Why this particular NOMI user one have access to that S3 means because we attach a policy to that NOMI user one. You got it, right? Maybe you have observed. I have shown all those steps very clearly, right? If you see here also, okay, I will also show you in the root account so that it's easy for you to understand. You can see here, right? What is that? So whenever you are creating user, I attached a policy because that policy is allowing that user to access this S3 bucket. You got it, right? We are attaching policy to access S3. So
Okay, which
now,
means we have created the bucket. I mean,
once
under
we
that
create, see,
policy.
once, see, it's simple. I think I got where you are getting confused. Okay. See, generally the point is simple, Revati. Once you create a bucket, buckets is nothing but S3 bucket. What bucket is this? This
S3
is
bucket
S3 bucket. Okay. So now, once you create S3 bucket, where this S3 bucket is created, Revati?
under the root user.
Under root user. But question is where this S3 bucket is created? Inside S3 service, right? Are you following?
Yeah.
Let me just show you. Okay. Let me
Yeah,
make it
that
simple.
point. Yeah, that point I couldn't get that. Yeah.
So,
Maybe I missed out that point. I mean, I was trying to ask, for example, we have two user one, user two, and we have created the bucket under the user. I mean, under and in root user as a root user. But now user one have only the read only access of the S3, and the user 2 have a read only, and then he can access the bucket,
see,
and he
read
can
only in
access.
sense, read only means you can have direct access to that S3. S3 in sense, whatever you can do on that S3 is that S3 read only. You got it right, Revati. Okay, let me explain here. Okay, it's
Yeah.
easy for you. Do one thing. Let me come here. So, what is the permission we have given to this NOM user one? There are different permissions for an S3. Okay, let me do one thing. We'll go one by one so that I can make you clear on this. Okay. First, let me enter into the root. Okay.
Yeah,
Let me
sure.
show you all the users and what permissions we attached so that your confusion will be definitely clear.
Yeah. Thank you so much.
Okay. No problem. It's fine because I understand where you are getting confused. Maybe you missed that part while discussing. I'm very sure. Okay. So here, what are all services you have under this? These are all the services, right? Right now we are testing on which service, Revati. Okay, you just I ask questions, you answer so that it's easy for you to get rid of your confusion.
Yeah,
What
sure.
service we are accessing?
We are S3.
Okay, just go search for S3. Okay, and then click on that S3. Okay. Now how many buckets we have created? This is these buckets, whatever buckets we created are stored inside this service, are created inside this service. Right. Do you get that point, Revati?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so buckets which we create are stored inside S3. Understood now? Just keep that point in mind. Now go back to the IAM. And the files which you upload also will get stored into that buckets. You
Yeah.
got it?
That's right. Yeah, that's
So
right.
finally, what is S3? S3 is a service where all the storage is managed, creating. So that storage happens managed through buckets. How the storage is managed? By creating buckets. And that bucket is nothing but a simple folder kind of thing where you put your files. Is that clear?
Yeah, that's clear.
Okay, let's just
So,
make an no. Let me go with the step by step so that you get a clear idea. Okay. So what is S3? S3 is a storage area where all your data is placed. All data is stored. Okay, fine. Generally, how this happens? This happens in the form of what? Buckets. What is there inside buckets? We put files. Okay, this is the hierarchy. Is this clear now? Now
yeah, got
next.
it.
Now let's get to the IAM business. Now let's go to the IAM.
Instead of uh,
Okay. I'll come back again. See, okay. Well, let me through with Revati. Then I'll come back. Who somebody is saying something? I'll take that suggestion or something if somebody is saying that. Okay. Now come here and check your users. Okay. These are all the users I have right now at this time, at the moment, right? What is that user I have created here in this session,
New
Revati?
me user one. New
Correct.
me
Click
user
on
one.
that user. Now, why that particular S3 is having is you attach this policies. Can you see here? What is the policy I attached to Nomi user one? Amazon S3 read only access. You got it right.
Okay.
When I attach this policy to that, see when I click on Nomi user one has just two policies attached. Or Nomi user one has access to just two things. One is permission change, change password permission. Second one, S3 access. That too, S3 read only access. You got it right.
Oh, yeah, got it.
And-
Now, then I got a question. Now, there is another user,
Okay.
and they also have access to the Amazon S3 read-only access.
Yeah,
So
well,
the
let's
whatever,
see. Let's come here.
whatever
Let's
the,
see. You can see here, this guy has full access, test user one. You got it right. Not just
yeah,
read only. I provided a
yeah,
different permission to this guy. You understand now?
yeah, yeah.
Now this guy can do different things. Suppose you do one thing. Let's get it, log into this test user one. Okay. Shall we do that?
So he can also access the same file that whatever we attach
That's
to
what,
the
right?
S3
When you
bucket.
say S3, S3 means whatever that is there in this Amazon.
Okay,
Cloud.
got it. Yeah, got
You
it now.
got it
Yeah,
right.
thank you.
That
Yeah,
is
thank you
that is
so
what
much.
the confusion you have. I understood that. S3 means it's
Yeah,
not just something specific. I think your doubt is it is something specific to user. Is that what you are saying, right?
yeah. I mean, how we connected those S3 into the particular user. So now I
You
got
can
it. Like
yeah.
in
You
under
have to
the
check these
root,
permissions. Yeah, correct.
yeah, under the root we have created some policy. I mean, the whatever we created under S3 in the bucket,
Yes,
and which can be accessible to all the user who have a permission.
correct. That
Permission.
permission you
Yeah,
are attaching. You got it right. If
yeah,
you don't attach, you
yeah.
don't get that permission. Suppose I will you for one or two users I didn't assign anything. Let me just see if I assigned. You can see here. If I don't assign that permission, you don't have access. I'm very sure about it. Okay. It should these guys have all that? It's okay, fine. You can create one user and don't assign anything and try to access that S3 bucket. You definitely don't have access. You can't
Yeah,
access.
yeah, got it. Yeah,
You
got
got
it.
it right.
Thank you
Or
so
else,
much.
if you want, we
Yeah,
can quickly try one POC here, a small POC. What is that? You can create a user. You do that. That is assignment for you. Create user, but don't assign attach any policy and try to access S3. See what happens. You got it?
yes, yeah,
That
sure.
that will
Okay, done.
definitely give you clear all your confusions. Understood?
Yeah, yeah. It's clear now. Yeah, thank you so
I
much.
know. I understood your confusion. Your confusion is about every user should have specific access. Why again other users having that S3 access? Because S3 is
Yeah,
global, right? It's
yeah,
like going to a mall. Whoever has ticket can enter into the mall. Simple. You understand? If
yeah.
you say
That's right.
why
Exactly.
other people are coming into the mall means they have that permission.
Yeah.
Okay. Your confusion is where it is you are saying that I only have permission. I should only be there in that mall. Why our others are coming is your question. Okay.
No. Mainly why this is comes into a question because we have I mean uploaded few files, right? When it
Correct.
comes
Correct.
to the files, that is so. I mean, there's some security or privacy sort of files also must be there. And if that is the case, if every users can access that files, means I'm not
Not
sure
every
about that.
not every
So
user again not every user. That permission itself says it is security. You got it right. When you say policy itself, it means you are providing security. Not everyone has that access. Is that clear,
yeah,
Revati?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, now
Again,
I got it.
don't get confused there. Not everyone can see that. Only someone whom we have attached policy will see that. Is that clear?
Yeah, it's clear now. Yeah, previously my understanding was that. That's why I got a question.
No, it's fine. I'm just trying to make your this thing
Yeah.
much better. That's all. Okay.
Yeah. Now I got it. Thank you so much. I really
Yes.
appreciate you.
That's fine. So someone is saying something. Okay. Now, yeah. If you want
Yes,
to
hi.
ask that.
Yes, hi. This Harsha. So,
Okay.
uh, for example, there is a in the root account there are like 5 buckets, let's say,
Okay.
and I don't want for some users to not appear some buckets. Is that possible? I
Yeah.
only want to like give only the access to 2 buckets, not all the 5 or something like that.
You mean you want to why you want that? Because the permission itself says that maybe I should check on that, Harsha. Suppose if you want to hide, you mean you are asking a
Okay.
question. Suppose if I have 5 buckets and for some users I want only 2 buckets visible, another 3 buckets should
Yeah,
be
right.
hiding.
Remaining only
You
the
should
root
hide
account should
remaining
have
3 buckets
access.
is your question. Okay, that's a good
Yeah.
question. Yeah. I'll check and get back to you on this, Harsha. Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so might be it should be possible, Harsha. Again, if that is the case, there is nothing like impossible anywhere. You understand?
Okay.
There in technology, because this is what we discuss when we do automations and somebody comes with some impossible automations, okay, on cloud or as well as on this thing, DevOps automations. So nothing is impossible. That's what I would like to tell you. But let me explore and come back on that. It's a good question. Okay.
Okay. And another thing is instead of like logging into the root and IAM user multiple times, we can just use some other browser or a incognito mode so that we can
Correct.
avoid.
Correct. See, here I am doing it on a purpose. You know why? You also know the answer.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
The answer is very simple. What is that? It's for learning purpose because
And
many of
yeah,
us are
right.
just starting. Okay. So just to make sure that they get familiar and so have that experience, I am doing that. But what you say is 100% agreed. Okay, Harish, you lift your hand and you are just keeping quiet.
No. Other one is asking. So yeah.
Okay, now you tell me
Yeah,
what's your question.
yeah, this what are the policies we are attaching, right? That you told like it will be in JSON files, no? Actually. So
Correct. I think I'll come back to that. Still, we are
uh-huh.
see there is so much to discuss. Okay, I just only covered till this PPTs. You have around how many PPTs for today? I planned for 147 PPTs, but we covered only for what 100. Okay, we have, and
Mhm.
tomorrow by tomorrow you might have 200 or 250 PPTs added. Okay, so don't worry about all that. For today, whatever I had discussed, practice it thoroughly and come back tomorrow. Whatever the question you have in mind, it is going to be answered in detail. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for that beautiful questions. Definitely, I like those. Yeah. Anything else? Because we'll stop here. Practice this part because this is important. And then tomorrow again we come back and then we go with other things like adding, creating groups, attaching users, and again testing one more time. And that is not only that. Different ways of attaching files. Creating inline policies and then connecting to the CLI command line interface and how do you do all that? Okay, that is also interesting thing, very useful thing. Okay, we do all that tomorrow. Any more questions for today?